Hello, and welcome to another edition of Spoken Voices. We hope that everybody is well. We hope that everybody has had a great summer. Speaking of which, this is August 31st, 2022. The summer is almost over. I don't know about how you feel about it, but there's a little sense of sadness in me because summer is my time of year. And living in Connecticut, it's really important to me to hold on to some of the warmth that has been the last couple of months because I know it's coming down the road. I know that the leaves are about to change. It's going to get a little cooler and then more cooler and then cold. And I'm not a cold person. I mean, I'm very sure a lot of people that's out there looking at me tonight probably love the snow. Think of going skiing and all the other stuff that's connected to cold weather and snow and stuff. I'm sorry, I just can't do that. I miss summer, I miss the flowers, the colors, the heat, but living in Connecticut, it's inevitable. The winter is coming. And again, I'm not too happy about it. But today, we're just going to talk about anything because I figure I haven't been in front of the camera in a long time. Want to talk about what's been happening in the world and what's been going on outside. First thing I want to talk about is something very simple. You know, every time I come in here and I talk about things that run through my mind, basically my opinions, my things that I see and I think of and just kind of spew it out there to my audience. One thing that I've come to realize over the summer is that COVID is not talked about as much anymore. And I guess that's a double-edged sword, though. We know it's still out there. We know that it's still affecting people, and people are still getting sick from it, especially those who are not vaccinated. And even those who are vaccinated are still catching it. And from what we hear from doctors and everything is that it doesn't affect them and the symptoms are not as bad as it is if you're not vaccinated with the boosters and all that stuff like that. Not being a doctor, of course, we walk around and we take the vaccination. We really don't know too much about it, but we feel safer because that we have done that. We have taken the vaccinations and the boosters and all that other stuff. And there's still two sides of it. There's still that argument with a lot of people about taking the vaccine. And that's fine. Because at the end of the day, people are allowed to have their opinions. But it seems as we move forward, having an opinion tends to start arguments. It tends to start, really bad disagreements, and which I can never understand. Because if I have an opinion about something, if I have a belief in something that makes me get through the day, I always feel that that's okay. But at the end of the day, if I can look at myself and say that other person can have an opinion too, that's fine also. We may have a disagreement about how we look at stuff, how we perceive certain things. But as long as that disagreement that you have with another person remains friendly, a friendly discussion, a friendly disagreement, as opposed to something that gets out of control, off the rails, where you actually think your opinion is the most important thing in the world, and it should be important to everybody because it's important to you. And unfortunately, that's not the case. I believe there are a lot of things that's going on now. What the Supreme Court said about Roe versus Wade and stuff like that, everyone has an opinion on that. Everyone has their idea of how things should be. Now, these things are always something that we look at and we have in our lives, how we live our life, how we raise our children. And you would be surprised to know that most people's opinions about a lot of things coincides with yours. It all depends on how we look at it, how we say it, how we bring that opinion forth. Going back to the vaccine, I believe that the vaccine should be taken, but that's my opinion. That is a very, very serious thing someone should consider for themselves. But I would never tell somebody and browbeat someone for not taking it. That's their opinion. You know, and that's the thing, because both sides, all sides say, well, if you don't do this, then you're not this. You know, you're not a true whatever if you don't feel the way we do. And again, we don't get into politics here because I am not affiliated with any political party. But there's a reason for that, because it seems like one side is always fighting against the other. And when two ends fight against itself, you can never come together, which is insanity to me. But we continually, as Americans, pick a side. And we shouldn't pick a side. We should do what's right for the people of this country, whatever that may be. And we should have disagreements on how to bring this country and move it forward. That's always a good thing. More ideas, more how someone feels about something gives us all the ability to rethink what we're thinking, learn something, you know, and that's the biggest thing that we need to understand. We need to learn. We need to be able to do the things to move this country forward by having different ideas. But if we don't, if we stay stuck in what we believe, if we hold on to what we think is right and believe that is the gospel, we can never move forward. And if you think about it for a minute, that's true with everything. That's true in your life as a wife, as a husband, as a child. If you can't see someone else's opinion, and even if you don't agree wholeheartedly, but at least take something of what they're saying, there's snippets of stuff that is good for you in every opinion. You should never disregard someone's opinion. You should never disregard someone's opinion, especially when they're trying to help you. I say that to my kids all the time. If I'm trying to tell you something that is beneficial for you, then you should consider it. And that's it. Consideration. You don't have to fall in line with anybody or anything, but consider it. If I tell you something that I believe is good for you, and you have a different way of looking at it, take bits and pieces of what I say and take it and say, well, you know what? That part of it was good. I didn't care for the other part, and I'm not going to do the other thing. But what you're trying to tell me benefits me, and I can move forward in that. But we have to do that and whatnot. See, in the beginning of the thing, I said I don't like summer. There are people who talk to me and give me a million reasons why I should love winter. How winter is such a great thing, and the things that you can do, the fireplace and stuff like that. I can't stand winter, but I can relate to, yes, being cozy under a fireplace. Yes, I would be happier being cozy on a beach. But yeah, but I understand. I can get that. Yeah, oh, wow, that does sound like fun. I don't totally disparage what someone is telling me. And that's the same thing in life, too. We understand that there are laws that are coming down about, say, abortion and stuff like that, which is a very serious subject, and which we should all look at and say, whose place is it to tell another individual what they can and cannot do to themselves. Again, we want everybody to take care of themselves. We want everybody to do the best thing to make them the best person that they can possibly be. But we can't be intrusive. I don't think the government nor you as a person should be intrusive in someone else's life. I like Jeep Cherokees. Someone drives by in another SUV, I'm not going to stop him and go, why did you buy that? Why did you buy that car? Why didn't you buy a Jeep like me? You know, I don't like those shoes. I like these shoes. You should wear my shoes. You see how crazy that sounds? Nobody should intrude in someone else's life to try to make them convert into what you're thinking. Again, I always say this to you guys. Political parties are crazy to me. You know, to say that I'm going to walk lockstep with a group of other people just because I like a certain person that's in this party, or my ideals are somewhat, you know, in line with someone else's, I am never going to look beyond that. I am always going to stay stuck in this thing where I will always be this. I will always. We are always nothing, because what we do is we evolve, if you're smart, and if you're smart enough to evolve, and understand that life is evolving. Things change. The weather changes. The way we look at life should change also, because we change with the time. We should not be steadfast into believing that what was will always be, because it's not. What was is what has been. Everything changes. And are we smart enough to change with them? Are we smart enough to change with the times? If something changes that is detrimental to us as a person, or us, you know, my family, or the people around me, then no, we will not accept that change, because that change is detrimental to the well-being of mankind. But if change says we will be pushed forward into something better, the environment. People believe that we are going into a situation where the polar Alps are changing, glaciers are melting, and everything like that, and it's going to raise the water level. Which means if it raises the water level at some point, years down the road, places like Florida, the Florida Keys, anything that's near the water, the Atlantic or the Pacific, will eventually be underwater. Now, if someone tells you that, and there's scientific fact to back it up, or common sense to realize it may be global warming, and the earth may be getting warmer, and it has been getting warmer for the last hundreds of years. If someone tells you that, my problem is, why is there a fight against it? What is it that is preventing you from understanding that if this happens, there are certain parts of the United States and parts around the world that will no longer exist, that the water is basically going to retake what it has given to us earlier, and it's going to reclaim its spot on this earth. So what happens, like with anything else, we have a disagreement, and we argue, and we go back and forth. We find no common ground, and what happens is that nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. And then when something does happen, when there's a traumatic event, we panic. We try to figure out, okay, I should have listened. We should have come to some kind of compromise to do this. But at that point, it's too late. Again, that's true with life. Just with a person that you know. You have a disagreement. You can't find common ground. And all of a sudden, that relationship is done. Because you were so steadfast, you were so prideful, that you didn't want to listen to someone else's point of view. It happens in marriages. My marriage with the producer of this show, there are times when I disagree, but I don't disagree in an egregious way. And I understand at some point my place in this show, on this show. I understand that the producer of a show has the ability, and it's their responsibility to explain to me what they want to put forth in a show. I get a lot of leeway from my wife. I get a lot of free reign to do what I want to do. But I realize if I broach something to her that I want to do and she says, no, we can't do that, and I try to explain this is why I want to do it, and she still says no, I need to back up and understand she said no, so I'm not going to do it. And that's the thing. If you listen and someone is telling you something, and you know at some point, if you're going back and forth, they're saying some stuff that you know is true, back up. Say, okay, you're right, but do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand why I thought this way? Or I'm coming at you this way? There's a reason for it. Must we always have our way? Must you always be right? You know, can you give and take a little bit? Or is it always your way or the highway? That's not a good way to live your life. Just as I said, it's not a good way to live your life to constantly follow someone because there are bits and pieces of what they're saying that you like. Or you like a person's personality, the way they look, the way they dress, the way they talk, and all this other good stuff, right? But what are they saying? What is the substance of that person? And again, we don't get political on here, but any political party, any person that votes for a person because they like the way they dress, like the way they talk, and not looking at the policies that will benefit your family and you won't vote for that person if you're into voting, then you need to take a step back and look at yourself. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we do of our people? We take care of our family. We take care of ourselves. Because that's the most important thing in most people's lives, themselves and their family. But if you love your family that much, if you know that your family is the utmost important thing in your life, wouldn't you think that if somebody else's family, that somebody else would feel the same way about their family? Knowing that you feel the same way about your family as that person does, shouldn't that make us better people? Shouldn't that make us treat each other a little bit different? Driving down the highway, cutting people off, flipping them off as we're zipping down the road because we're in a hurry. Did you ever consider who's in the car that you just cut off? Did you ever consider who may be sitting in that car? A child in a child seat, a baby. But you're ranting and raving and almost running this person off the road. Are you willing to take the responsibility of hurting that family, of hurting that child? Do you ever take the time to step back and realize the things that you're doing can be detrimental to someone else, to someone else's family? Would you like that person to do the same thing for you? You know, one of the things that's been said hundreds of years, do unto others as you would like them to do to you. It's a simple statement, but it's one of the truest statements ever spoken or written. Because if you go through life thinking that I will never do anything to anyone else that I don't want done to me, You'll probably never get into too many conflicts. You will walk away from a lot of conflicts when you can, because you will never put yourself in that predicament. You know, and I am not perfect. I know there are times when I'm driving down 84 and someone cuts me off and I'm losing my mind. And then I take a minute to breathe and realize, what am I doing? That was like a second out of my life. Why am I losing my mind over something that happened like a second ago and I'm still going on about it? And you realize how silly we are sometimes. And, or, you know, you read something, you see something on TV and you get so irate about it. And then you realize, you know, I need to calm down and rethink what I'm thinking. I've seen so many people, I've read so many people write so many crazy things on social media. And for some reason, I can't understand how people take things so personal from people they don't even know. If I don't know you, you can't hurt me. You have no purpose in my life. And as long as you don't do anything to me, I will never do anything to you. And this is what we're doing. And my producer's just walking behind me, and she seems to be a bit lost. Producer, what are you doing? Why are you looking for a chair? You're going to come next to me? You're going to come talk? We're going to have a treat. We're going to have the producer come sit next to me. You should see him moving his chair.
It's my show.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I can't see you. Should I move over?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wow. You have a lot of stuff on here.
I want to talk about something.
What do you want to talk about, ma'am? Don't hit the mic like that.
I want to talk about Betty Boop.
Betty Boop, the old 1930 cartoon?
Well, I just kind of saw something. I want to share it.
Okay.
And it says here that
Can you read your writing?
Huh?
Can you read your own writing? You look like you can't read it.
I can read it.
Better glasses?
Yeah. Did you know she was black?
Yes, I did actually.
She was an African American.
The image of I don't know her name. What was her name?
Esther. Oh goodness. Wow.
Esther Jones?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was black. It says here that Betty Boop, the popular cartoon introduced to the world by cartoonist Mr. Max Fleischer in the 1930s.
Oh, I was right. It was the 1930s.
Yeah. Was actually inspired by a real-life African-American jazz singer and entertainer from the Harlem named Esther Jones.
Oh, okay.
Her stage name was Baby Esther.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when her character, it says here that she wasn't even acknowledged for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I always thought, you know, they play her as a white female.
The little cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, you figured, but think about it, 1930, right?
Wow.
1930s.
Somebody took the idea and ran with it.
Rough. Of course.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you see her picture, you know what she reminds me of?
Who?
Josephine Baker.
Yeah, she was a beautiful
Josephine
woman.
Baker, yeah.
Beautiful woman.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's something good.
So that was the 1930s.
Yep. Just wanted to say that.
But no, don't leave now.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss, you're going to leave?
I could do whatever I want.
Well, the show is almost over. You only got like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right?
Bye, guys.
Producer. That's Meryl. She just stumbled off. If she had a fell, you would have saw me laugh, but I would have went and picked her up.
Hey, that's not nice.
I'm just saying.
We got 5 minutos.
Not even. So, see, stuff like that. Information that comes to you, right? Things that you don't know. It amazes you sometimes. So, isn't it a great thing to say, if it's something that I didn't know, to pass it on to someone else? To say, wow, did you know this? Did you know that? You know what? I think one of the things about me and my family is that we're curious. And I think a lot of times when you come from certain areas of the world and certain areas of the United States, you know, this is me. I'm going to go into my New York spiel here, right? As a New Yorker, I was always curious because there's something always happening. New York is constantly changing. And growing up in the 60s and 70s in New York City in the 80s and 90s, I realized that things changed. I remember 42nd Street was horrific until it changed. And now it's not, it's one of the best places for tourists to come and see. It wasn't like that all the time. It was horrid back in the 70s and early 80s. But these are the things that we have to embrace, is change, especially when it's change for the better. And my whole thing here today was to tell, you know, to try to get you guys to understand, listen, don't be, you know, stuck in what you believe and you think to be the gospel. Because there's other people with opinions also on the same subject that may change your, not necessarily change your mind, but give you a different perspective on that subject. Make you able to be able to look at somebody who disagrees with you, but you no longer hate that person because their opinion is different. You can understand why that person may feel that way. Personal experience, life experience for that person is different than yours. So your perspective is going to be a little bit different or a lot different than that person's. But what we have to do is give other people the chance to have an opinion, because that's our right as human beings to have an opinion. Sometimes your opinion is wrong, sometimes it's right, or sometimes it doesn't even matter what your opinion is. But have one. You know, and for the most part, always look at your fellow man, your fellow human being, to have the ability to have their opinion too. You know, we want everybody to live a good life and enjoy the end of summer. Labor Day is coming up, and once Labor Day comes here, guys, I tell you, I get a little down, because like I said, I know what's coming. And for all those who are laughing at me because I don't like winter, I don't care. I still don't like winter. But anyway, as always, we wish you well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay together. And we want to thank you for joining us again on Spoken Voices. Have a good day.